Back in August 2022, artist friend of mine, Teresa Tam, invited me to be part of a project called Good Job Arcade. They put together a team of 9 other collaborators, and instead of a traditional group show where we each contribute our own thing, we collaborate on all the pieces in this arcade project since the very beginning. So we wanted to use work and play to explore the themes of asynchronicity experienced by people in the diaspora, and also talk about how communities form into nostalgia. And across the 10 of us, we had such a wide variety of skills. We had photography, poetry, writing, programming, sound design, illustration, 3D modeling, fabrication, installation, sculpture, concrete making. And I think through this process, we were able to draw on our own varying experiences within diaspora and to really contribute to this project in a way that we really formed a tight-knit community at the end of it. So this video will show you a bit of our chaos in the past 8 months, and I hope you enjoy it. Hi, I'm Jess, and this is Crafting a Community.
I'm Teresa Tam. I'm a Calgary born and raised artist, and I guess I'm the one who's in charge, whatever that means. Good Job Arcade is at its very essence, just an arcade. Like it's a game. It's like an arcade where we just build, our own games, and so it's all custom made. And so Good Job Arcade is. It's about a gathering of people, whether it's artists or the public, to come together and play. And so thematically, there's more to it. It's also about how nostalgia has its own specificity for certain diasporic folks. So, it's not just a longing for a home. It's also a longing for like a belonging, a longing for comfort. So there's many different types of nostalgia that comes from folks who just are, moving around a lot. And so a lot of the thematics around the arcade is built around that idea. But instead of just tackling it head on as like, oh, we are nostalgic peoples, it's more like, how can we incorporate play and have that be part of the experience of understanding the fact that we have this type of nostalgia, but also hopefully a type of relief, whatever that, even if it's like very subtle or simple or not even noticeable, or even pertinent, to anyone. But that's essentially what Good Job Arcade is about. I had approached Alia because of her experience as an artist. Like it's, other than myself, no one else in the group is like a full-time self-employed artist. And so it was important for me to actually have someone else who understood grantings, deadlines, or, just like the pressures that kind of come around being a full-time artist and running large projects. But also on top of that too, it's also her experience as a builder, but not just like only a builder. She has experience doing a lot of other things, very versatile. And I think it's important to have someone else in the group who's also skilled in many things, because it's important to have, I think, agility. I think in an art space, you want to have more adaptability and skills, like general skills sometimes, than you want specialized skills sometimes. And so for her role is mostly that. I worked with Jack before, and he was brought on for programming. So he has experience with doing programming, and even if he has experience with programming, he's like pretty good at picking it up or wants to pick it up. So because we were doing a lot of Unity-based games, it was important to, and for me, I wanted to make my own games. Like it was important to have custom games and not just like games that we make. So like, because it's, in order to, I think, convey certain things, you have to have control and you have to have understanding. And so I thought it was important to bring on someone who, even though he doesn't have experience working with Unity, he has like the understanding of what it means to bring something from programming to something a bit more cohesive, but also he understands that it's an art project, and we've also worked together, so that helps that like he kind of gets how I am sometimes, and I think it's important to get people who just are used to working with you. Jada was brought on as like a generalist, actually, like a generalist in that, not in the same way Alia is, but like a generalist in that she does a lot of aesthetics, like a sort of 2D decorative like work. So she does a lot of illustrations. Also, she does 3D modeling as well. She's quite versatile, and she's also done fabric. She's someone who kind of brings in a lot of ideas, and that's also important for me too. Is someone to kind of bring in a lot of ideas that may not seem very artistic, or someone who has a lot of aesthetic choices that I think some people might question, and like for me too, it's like she's also someone who I'm also really comfortable back and forth in terms of ideation, especially on the aesthetic sides of like, do you think this is a good idea or a bad idea? And she's like quite honest. So for me personally, I think it was important to have someone who I could lean on, who would know, aesthetically speaking, what colors would work, whether the fonts are good or not, or whether or not the space feels good. So she's like much more of like a spatial, like detail oriented, like within the space of this arcade, within it, does it actually look good? Does it feel good? So that's what she was brought on for. And then with Jolene, she was brought on for her musical experience, of course. So she's like a musician, and I think it's important for an arcade or even any art projects, honestly, to I think engage more than just visuals. I know audio is like the next one down, but I think it's so important to like make sure that that's there, right? So having someone, even if it's not custom audio, it could just be like someone who understands auditory soundscapes, right? What it means for someone to physically be there but have to hear things. But more than that, though, she also has experience working with teams in a very collaborative way. She has like many bands. She does a lot of like jamming sessions, and I also brought her on too because of that. Like she's good at like ideation, understanding like how to jam and when to stop, and bringing on ideas and just being together. But she also has a lot of experience too with like digital aspects of things, so like design, logo making, illustration. So it's good to have someone else, other than Jada, to also do some of that, especially when it comes to more like designy things. So Jada would be more like artsy illustration or 2D, whereas Jolene would do more like the designy things, the more corporate-y sort of aspect of things. Not in a corporate way, just like corporate type of language, right? Or corporate type of, or very technical software and systems. So like she's someone I can lean on to being like, if you understand spot coloring and bleed, that sort of thing, right? She'd be good for that. Whereas with Jada, it's more like, make sure this is like really good looking and it conveys this particular feeling. And so Pan is someone I haven't really worked with, and he was recommended to me by someone else. And and they said that he's really experienced in like doing construction, concrete. He's really sculptural, and I figured that because it's an arcade, physicality is really important, and it can't just rely on one person. Just in how like we can't just rely on Jada or Jolene to tackle only like the 2D and musical aspects. So I brought on Pan for his experience, and also his willingness to actually experiment and like figure out how to solve like sculptural and structural problems that I think will be important. When we talk about play, people are physically going to be playing and being in a space, so it's important to have someone else who has experience, with people interacting or people physically being on top of things and making sure it's safe. So. And mostly though, I heard from others that he's just really good at being collaborative, really good at problem solving, and I think that's really important. So those are like the 5 artists, and then for the writers, so for the publication, well, that's what it originally was for. There are 3 writers. I brought them on as additional supports for the 5 artists because they have their own specific things they're worried about, and I also wanted a publication as well. And so for the artists, I brought them on based on their my experience working with all of the 3 writers. So with Danny, he's more of a photographer, but he did have a journalistic background. But for him, I'm always intrigued by his take on things. So he has a very interesting take as someone who was not quite in the arts, but kind of in the arts, and, as a photographer, and sometimes poet, even though he might not call himself that, but But for him, I brought him on because he has interesting insights that I think sometimes it's needed for something like this. You know, when you're working with artists only, sometimes your worldview is a bit skewed, like most things. But I think he brings a nice balance of like different worldviews that are, I think, needed. I brought Jessica on because of my experience working with her at Yokeless Press. And so she wrote a few articles for us and also helped out our website. But I think the one thing I was struck by is actually like her attention to detail and her ability to kind of take the threads that are like tendrils out there and kind of create cohesion, which I think is, again, really important for such a big project. There's like so many things going on, and I can't be the only one who's like trying to keep them all together when I'm trying to also be an artist. I'm not just a manager, so it's good to have someone else out there who can kind of pick those up. And I think Jessica's really good at that. So I brought on Jordan because of their, well, their background as a poet and also writing. And so I would say Jordan's like the more like writer, sort of, what do you call classic writer? Although I didn't bring on Jordan for that reason though. I brought on Jordan because of their insights. It's much more like, I want to say grand, but it's like there's a much more like metaphysical sort of understanding that Jordan likes to tackle. You know, like any project they tackle on, it's always like very, you know, metaphysical or very, what's that word? Big picture. Is what I will say. So, and so I think they have interesting insights about also around people too, right? Because of their facilitation work. And so I just figured it'd be interesting to, especially if I want this publication to also not just be about the games, but also about people and not just like the team, but also how people interact, and especially with the theme of nostalgia. It'd be nice. It was nice to bring on someone else who conceptually understood, or what's a conceptual like tackle it. So it's one thing to, you know, as an artist to create a physical piece of work, and then also another one to conceptually tackle or explore themes. And those are sometimes very hard things to meld as an artist, is to how do you convey ideas via the work you make. And sometimes it's like a hard balance. And so I think it's good to have someone else who is also trying to think about, conceptually speaking, what it means for people to, you know, run through or go through this specific type of nostalgia, and whether or not the games and the way we approach things are actually achieving that or questioning that. And so that was why I brought on Jordan, is because I needed that a little bit extra support as well, and someone else who's also questioning and asking those questions. And lastly, there's Vicky. She was brought on as just administrative support, who ended up being a bit more. So with Vicky, she's had experience, you know, working with media for a long time, and so she's understanding of like how artists works and how administratively taxing and grand projects are. And so this is my first ever project where I took on such a large team and such a large budget and such a large project, generally speaking. And so having administrative support was great. And Vicky's also great too, because she was able to give ideas. Again, for me, I don't want just someone who's working for me. I want someone who's also like understanding of like what it's like to be an artist, but also give my ideas, like feedback. Like I don't work quite well with people who are just like, oh, you should do this or that, or what do you want? I'm like, well, it's like I have things I want, but I'm also curious of like if there's better methods, different methods. This is actually fit for the group, and Vicky's really good at like, you know, adapting to like what the group needs or what is needed at that moment. So she was brought on for that. It was important that it wasn't just like a group show where people kind of contributed one thing or another, and it's like, this is my piece and this is my piece. It was important actually for it to be collaborative, because that's also part of the hidden theme of this project, is that it's about, you know, coming together as a group, right? Whatever that means, because my personal thesis about, you know, nostalgia, like desperate nostalgia, comes from also like not having people around as well. So you know, people tend to feel more nostalgic for a home, whether or not they were there before, because of the people they miss or the times they've missed, or like the experiences and the feelings. And so for me, it was kind of important to also kind of build that into like the working environment, is like, how can we move? It's not that I want to move on, but like, you know, we can't get stuck in nostalgia. So how can we actually build a space where it's like we can tackle it together, but find a way to move towards a different type of experience together, right? And so that way that we're not bogged down by this nostalgia. We'll never, for some people, they'll never get rid of it. For some people, don't even have it at all. But, for those who are like, in between or have them, it's like, how do you move onwards in a way where it's there, but you can still enjoy the life you have here. But in order to do that, you have to like find and build a community. And so the working part is important in collaboration, because I don't want to segregate people. I don't want to be like, even though Jolene's in charge of music, it's like, well, okay, well, how else can she contribute, and how else can that be put into the games where it's like a mix? And even though it's her music, maybe it's someone else's ideas, right? How can we kind of build together this project where it's not like we're feeling like we have a specific role, even though we do, and that you only feel like you can only contribute in one way when really you can contribute in many ways, because we have a lot of skills, and even ideas are really important too, right? Not one person can drive everything, and they probably shouldn't. It's better to like have a group discussion. I mean, it makes things slower and more chaotic, but I think it's important though that we're all aligned. I don't want people to feel like they're like put out because they don't belong in the group, or that their ideas aren't meaningful. I mean, whether or not we can convey them or use them is another matter, but I think it's important that no one feels like they're left out. And I feel like being collaborative helps, because some aspects of the arcade will always matter more than the other ones as an art project. But I just don't want people to feel like as if they can't contribute if they can't build. I think they can't contribute if they can't code, because there's more to it, right, than the foundations. And so for me, it was important to collaborate and have people feel like they can work together. And also it helps with me not being a manager, not gonna lie. It definitely takes some weight away from me in terms of having to manage, being like, oh, talk to this person, I will talk to this person because they do this and this. So if everyone feels like they can contribute and be more collaborative, they can feel like, okay, if I have to talk to so-and-so because they're doing this, they can go off and do their own. So it's like less work for me as well. It's a bit, maybe not selfish, but it's just like the way I prefer leading.
When we go through and sort of titrate the relationships in the arcade, you can see people were involved in most, if not all, things in some way, if not directly, or then in second or like tertiary relationships with that or adjacency. And it's super fun that way, because someone like me who might be positioned more upstream from the concepts that were introduced in the arcade and that we got to play with, and which ended up being the designs of the cabinets and all of the games, I get to see how they evolve and feel really invested in them as they grow beyond the my hands touching them directly,
There's an opportunity to kind of like gather so many different perspectives into one project, so that it's not just one artist's perspective, but many. I think is really important, because there's always this chance of being kind of being insular and kind of being in a bubble, and a lot of times when artists are creating work. So by having this chance to kind of have these jam sessions with different artists and writers and kind of bring these ideas to life. The idea itself kind of evolves as it goes. Like, I'm pretty sure Teresa had a very, specific idea of how she wanted this arcade, and like how close it is to what she actually planned and how it is going to manifest itself in the end. I think is going to be really interesting to kind of see.
I think that the community aspect of this project is very growing. Like, it's very expensive. I'm able to uncover like new pathways and new ideas so much more quickly or at all than I would be able to do on my own. And just to be in a group with other people that are also from like diasporic populations or like first or second gen is so cool. I've never worked in that setting before. And so to like find these connections that I really only have otherwise, like with my cousins in Singapore, is great.
Because when Teresa mentioned like she was bringing on some writers, I kind of thought like, okay, like, the publication, like that's the publication, some of the lore, some of the like kind of helping like maybe wordsmith some of the concepts for like I don't know, like the what do you call it, the literature or whatever that exists in the gallery. But I really see more of, especially the writers, than I had expected. And I think originally when Teresa asked me to join the project, I was looking at the message. I think I was like searching for something in my email, and I remember like I saw my message back being like, I don't know how much I can commit to this project. And she was kind of like, well, yeah, you can just do like the sound or something. Like you don't have to be like full on. And I feel like I've been a lot more full on than I kind of expected to be, but I'm happy about it. Like I don't regret that at all.
It's been so fun. It's like going back to school. I think my favorite part about art is probably like the community aspect of it. It's very strong in this project, especially. I don't think I've ever worked on a team of so many people, or really ever before. So yeah, I really appreciate that part of it a lot, and lots of new ideas and lots of new like ways that people think about things, and just lots of learning through this process. I don't know, it's very fun. Everyone's very nice and welcoming. Yeah, very smart.
Honestly, I guess the result, like, I know it was an ambitious project because of everything that had to be built and programmed. And it was an interesting choice of people to work on the project. And I asked Teresa about it a few times, and I know she was very intentional about who she picked. Because, like, if it were people who were like professional game developers, or even like more experienced game developers, or more experienced builders, or more experienced like sound designers, like it could have been done so much faster. It could have just been done. Like it didn't have to be such an ambitious thing. I think the thing that made it ambitious was that some of us aren't as experienced or experienced at all in some of the things we took on. Like I have never made plushies before, that's for sure. Or, I haven't done a lot of like sound design. Like I studied it at ACAD, and I play music and have been in the studio. But it definitely could have been a smoother process had different people been chosen. But like, would it be the same project? I don't know. And I think the result is so much bigger than what I imagined, because we've got community events, we've got the Filipino community event, we've got Respectful Child and Valiska playing the day before. Like that's so cool. So, and am I allowed to say that we're extending it? Like doing like the fact that we're doing like a closing reception, like the result has been like, I guess not physically, or how do you say this? Like, anyway, I don't know how to phrase it, but the result has been bigger than I imagined.
Why don't we just like buy a Hungry Hungry Hippo game, but then just replace all the balls with dumplings?
Well, that's what I was thinking, but I didn't say it out loud.
I mean, you're gonna have to start 3D printing right now, so.
Well, I have to go pick it up first.
you
What
best
are
go
you
do that.
into dumpling balls 3D printing?
The dumplings.
No, just make them out of paint.
Yeah, just paint them a color and
What?
then a sign,
Scopy,
make
like
like a
the
paw.
paint
yeah,
that
yeah,
dries.
yeah.
These
Okay,
are
with the
pictures.
pictures.
This green dumpling
Wait.
is this.
Yeah, they don't all have to be edible crustaceans.
No.
But we've got so many
Oh, we
that it's tantalizing.
Do we have others?
No, it's it. Yeah, we just have.
Oh, you got the tentacle thing.
Yeah, tentacle embrace.
Tentacle embrace.
Oh, okay.
That's the
You got the
unshrimping.
unshrimper.
Yeah, and now we have the cuttlefish cutter.
Abalone ab ripper.
Oh!
Actually, that's not too
Gifted
bad.
to you by.
Abilene Aberber was
thinking
pretty
on
good.
this thing.
What was that?
It's okay though if you don't.
Here we go, live.
Okay. Do I need hair in this?
Yeah.
So we got screen-based games.
like these three here, and then we have a couple claw-based physical games.
Claw, I'm very excited for the claw.
And there are other games that are also prototyping that are just not ready today. So
Okay,
you know,
okay. I know, I heard
just
Teresa
what
up
your
in the- up
appetite.
in the attic. All right.
So we have these playtest forums.
Okay.
Our writers team will use a lot of that content when we write our game manual for the arcade.
Yes.
And also any designs and stuff like avatars or dumpling concepts.
Yeah.
You might see that as a plushie or a sprite or an icon somewhere, who knows? Chaos.
Okay.
So, you know, everything is free. That's a coin-based game, but if you need more coins, it's
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
There's a bucket of coins there.
All right. Sweet. Should I bring this like along or just do it on after?
it's up to you.
I'll get a sense of what that.
Taylor's a great girl. She loves giving feedback, right?
I'm pretty motivated by this.
Okay, Rachel's gonna stay. No more, none of that. No more of that. Yeah, yes.
Are you like close?
Press start.
Did you guys like model these? Oh yeah, everyone did.
I look at the beginning of the process, we did this play testing. It became really clear that play can also bring us really close to really difficult feelings, emotions, experiences, collective knowledge that we have around labor and how we navigate through that. So, you know, thinking about all of that, what is this arcade to me? It's a way that we are, I guess, drawing attention to how community care and that Kapwa sense of shared identity becomes a way that we can alchemize all of the things that sometimes become a dear cost when we are trying to connect to a land through mediating factors like colonialism, capitalism, cishet patriarchy, so on and so forth, right? Like, better to have this plushy chaos where I get to explore my agency and also relate to folks to play in.
She can play the gift into the scissors wherever she wants.
Okay.
That's true, that's true.
Nice, nice. Good alligator chomp technique. Nice. Try piercing.
That happened. This has been like my moment.
But that's not the Teresa ball, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Are you? Okay. Okay.
You want me to hold on to anything?
Is there even a? Oh, I think I know what this one is. This one's the.
Don't spoil it.
Yes. I won't. Can you pull on?
Closer.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Which one is this?
I think it's the.
Oh! Wait, I don't know which one.
Got it?
So you want the upper side?
Oh, wait. Whoa.
Okay, wait. I don't know. Where is it?
Where is it?
You see it?
Do you see it?
I don't see it. You see it?
It must be in there.
This one needs scissors. This one.
Scissors? Oh no, there it is.
Oh, do you see it?
It's in there. It's there. You'll see it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the trash is covered.
I know.
Ooh. Wait, do you want to try?
Oh. Okay, ready to catch it? No. Yes. Yes. No.
I think so. Yeah. Because the problem with the keyboard is that it's like, wherever this, it's like.
A chair helps.
It does so much.
Honestly, we put on our feet all day.
Yes.
So my name is Alia Shahab, and I am an artist on the Good Job Arcade project, and my role is kind of bringing some of the machines that we've been imagining to life in the physical realm. And so I'm working on actually like building the claw machines and designing how they'll work and how our objects will move through them, and some of our virtual games like the Grocery Dash. I'm designing the physical scooters that will control how we move through the game. And then there's a couple smaller dumpling games, we're calling them, that I'm building, and they're kind of more like bite-sized physical games. Yeah, and other than that, just helping with like the overall conceptualization and brainstorming and design of everything. The thing that excites me most about the project is working with the theme of play to uncover deeper themes, because play has always been, and like movement of the body and just moving around a space has always been something that has really interested me in my own practice. And I don't know if I've ever like brought it to much of a really deeper level than that. And so working with Teresa and collaborating with some of these ideas and talking about these themes with the rest of the group, I think really excites me, and just like combining that with play and having a whole exhibition based around the idea of play is really great.
I'm Pan, and I built many cabinets at Good Job Arcade. Yay! All for Teresa. All for Teresa. And Alia. Mostly for Alia, actually. Some of it for Teresa. Yeah.
Hey, it's me, bus stop. Make sure you stop for the bus stop.
Okay, that's a bit better.
It's me.
A little bit weird still.
Stop where buses.
Can't pay. Oh, wait. Okay.
We're never gonna. We won't get anything done if I'm beside him.
Yeah, you two are in trouble.
But we are in trouble for sure.
Feels like we're like in a large mech together.
Is it Pacific
No, I think it should be BB.
Gundam.
How does this look? Gundam.
Gundam.
Like, proportionally?
Yeah, between us.
Yeah.
I feel like I think we could maybe go out just a little bit more so that we can kick it. I mean, no, we'll kick it, but.
Kick it. Oh,
we
this?
move. No, we move.
This is the tube that Teresa found in my childhood room, and it belonged to his ex-boyfriend.
So the relaxation closer to the door.
Yeah, like the most like the high access.
The sound effects are really help.
I'm so happy that Pan's part of this project, and to have met him, because I only met him through this project, and just to be able to work with him on the actual physical construction of things. And he reminds me of, he has some things that remind me of myself when I was his age, which he's like almost 10 years younger than me.
but his like risk tolerance is way higher than mine. I feel like a curmudgeon old auntie that's like, and just like his just surviving on ramen every day, like doesn't even plan his food at all.
Can you please
Dos.
just record a little bit?
Do I mix it?
Yeah, you just mix it. Mix it. Crack in 2 eggs, give it a mix. Microwave covered for 3 to 4 minutes until the egg is cooked.
Thank you.
The result is a delicious steamed egg.
With the sad, you would never weird like.
Well,
You gotta real whip it.
yeah, I'm not a good whipper. There,
Okay, well,
is that okay?
The sad, so the real mix.
Vicky, you get a whipper? That seems okay.
I think I broke the yolks now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
And then that's
Yum. Oh.
Oh, that's the raw egg.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's better.
That's whatever.
Protein.
Oh my gosh. And then we'll put it for 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
It seems like forever.
Do we have more of those cups?
2 minutes.
3.5.
Is that nice?
Yeah.
Is that what a souffle is supposed to look like? Oh, it is. It's like Jello.
Don't dump it.
It's like ice cream.
Can you scoop it? Ooh.
Yeah, I can scoop it. With a spoon? Not a fork. That's sacrilege.
Yeah, you gotta do it. It's called scooping, not forking.
Yeah. Don't fork it up.
Ooh. You're gonna burn your mouth. Don't such a big black spoonful.
That hurts.
So good. It's so
That's
good.
crazy.
It's really good, actually. You guys want a bite?
Yeah. It's actually good.
Can I try a little bite? I want to taste one.
We don't have any more shin though, but you could make it with the other things.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, I bought shin ramen
Wow.
at 7-Eleven.
It's really good.
I didn't bring it.
What a magical device a microwave is. But I was also like, we get someone else to do it.
So much to do.
Maybe that's why it's 3 words and not like 4 words. Okay, done. Are you sure it's so unless it makes it harder for you to see.
Do you want us to put it on for you?
No, I want him to do so. Just poke both your eyes out in the process. Cool.
Nailed it.
Wow.
Too
so
easy,
cool.
too easy.
Bye. That's all. Yeah. If you do.
Do you want to say maybe?
Yeah.
Something?
Especially opening night, right? Like it was so packed. Like I haven't been in a space like an arcade that's been packed for a long time. Like I've been in arcades, you know, in 2020, in the 2020s, and there's still great spaces filled with beautiful lights and, you know, chimes. It's almost like Vegas for children. Very problematic, but they're never like packed anymore. You know, like they're never like filled wall to wall with people in arcades anymore. Like that era very much feels like one that is gone. And so being able to experience at Truck, having Good Job Arcade being kind of just packed wall to wall with our family and friends was actually a very beautiful experience, one that I never thought I would really feel again, of just being like in a space that resembled an arcade, yet not quite. But like there's this general level of fun, excitement, and in the din, right, in the air of the place, and I think that was my favorite part.
It's kind of funny because when I was thinking of like, oh, who am I most excited to see at this opening, is actually my family. Like, you know, the thing about Teresa's work is just, it's so hard to find art in the city that I can be like, oh, I can invite my family to. Like I feel like I'm very conscious about the stuff that I invite my family to, because I have invited them to very, different things. And a lot of the times, like, my sister would be like, why did you bring me to this? I don't understand, or it's so boring, or I don't get it. But this is, I think, probably one of the first exhibitions that I feel comfortable to be like, hey, you should really come see this. I think you're going to have a really good time, and that you're going to actually relate to the work that's being presented. So, yeah, and I think they're gonna really enjoy it. So I'm excited to bring my family down to see the exhibition. I mean, already, like, my cousins are a huge fan of Teresa's work. Like, they go to every show, they make sure they get her publications, and so already I can see her work being able to reach out to a community that doesn't necessarily is part of this world and this art world, and to kind of see sort of like these like sort of these laymen, or like like this audience that doesn't normally get exposed to this kind of like spaces or this kind of contemporary art. To have Teresa kind of bridge those communities, I think is really special.
I had ideas like visually for what it could look, and I guess visually and sonically for what it could look and sound like, and like maybe what we could do to the space. But I think like they were all really ambitious ideas, like, oh, maybe we lower the ceiling and like get ceiling tiles and put like LED lighting and stuff like that. But honestly, I think how it, I don't know, I past that, I didn't really have expectations. Like, obviously, I think with any installation project, you kind of like shoot for the moon, right? Like, you just throw out every idea and then bring it back to what's reasonable. And I didn't know what that reasonable level was. Like, I had no idea what to expect for the final installation. And especially when we were like, still kind of piecing it together the day of the opening, I was just kind of having trouble imagining what it was going to look like. But I knew we'd pull it off. I don't know. I had faith in us.
Have I ever told you about kapwa? So kapwa is this Filipinx, this land-based ancestral knowledge, which is a concept of the self that defines my individual self as indivisible from or inextricable from a collective or communal self. So my elder Cesar used the phrase, we relate, therefore we are. So for me, I do a lot of anti-oppression work, a lot of facilitation, a lot of navigating and hacking colonial systems and structures. So kapwa is a very interesting thing to play with, literally, within the context of a process like this where, we get to have a little fun with, critique, and also manipulate and harness labor, So I think, again, you can tell there's lots of different layers of interest and curiosity for me in this process, and all of it has to do with our relationships. So the arcade team ourselves, our individual interrelationships within that, or with Teresa, the cosmic claw herself, with our hosts here in the gallery, Alicia and May, and the whole team that made this possible, with also all of the people that, in a way that still is kind of incomprehensible to me, because I didn't see it with my own eyes. All of these people that were willing to line up outside of an artist-run center, not really knowing what's gonna happen inside, but already somehow being connected to this palpable feeling of excitement, of satisfaction, of wonder, and also all of the textures, nervous system states, feelings, and permutations of that when that comes through the Theresa Tam lens. Right? So that's like the meta fabric of all of this is Theresa's imagination and way of viewing the world. So that also in itself exemplifies Kapwa.
And it felt pretty momentous, you know, like I don't think anyone was expecting it to have the turnout it did on opening day when like nothing was working, you know, like with around 200 people showing up to an art gallery is kind of crazy, like an artist run one. So it was an incredible experience, and like I said, like I go into a lot of these things not necessarily with the intent to make lifelong friendships, but also like not brushing that away. Like I want to connect to people. I think it's important, and it helps me stay grounded and level.
Thank you, everyone. And also, it wasn't just me, even though my name is on it. It's also, there's a huge team behind it, so there's like 9 other people. Some of them have left because, as some of you know, we've been working many hours. So I do want to give a shout out to Alia, and then all the J's, Jessica, Jordan. It's not in order, I'm just counting it out. Jada, Jack. Wait, Jolene.
I think it is in order.
Oh, is it? Yeah. And then there's also Pam. I haven't seen any. Yeah, Pam. Yeah. And then there's also, oh no, this is terrible. Where am I at? Was it myself and then Vicky? Vicky's also pretty too. Yeah, so I also thank the volunteers as well, and also truck staff and for everyone. Huh? Yeah, I mean this is like they gave us a lot. So yeah, and it would be possible with everyone else too.
Thanks for
So
putting up with us.
yes, basically, yeah. So even though I'm making this speech, it's really a large team, and I'm really grateful.
And thanks, Theresa, for bringing us all together.
Thank you for trusting me, for letting me drive everyone around in this chaos. So yeah, it's been fun. So it's not yet over. So hopefully come back and we'll see things in its full potential, or not, and it's still good. So, yeah. Good job. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. First, before I say anything, I just want to make sure everyone understands that this is real neon and not the fake neon we see these days, which is made of LEDs. Environmentally not very friendly, however, that was very important to me because, as for those who don't know, but neon has a very important cultural reference, not just from where my family's from, which is Hong Kong, but also as an indicator of like older stores, of which I have a lot of familiar history with, and I just feel like the way the light glows is something that is not just nostalgic, but has a particular glow that I feel like is important for this arcade to exude. There's a lot of LEDs in here, so it's not like I'm anti-LED, it's just that I think particularly this sign had to be real neon. But yeah, so the term good job kind of came from, it was a bit of a whim, just thinking about, what would be a funny or a good way to get people to come in and get a sense of feeling right away what the arcade was meant to be. And originally the idea of the arcade was centered around the idea of working labor, especially those who are diasporic communities. They often times have the ability to actually relax. And so this is originally, the idea of the arcade was actually meant to be about talking about, doing a good job, being able to do well even though you don't have time to do well, or just telling people that you're doing the best you can. But as the arcade progressed, it turned into more about play, because I feel like the best, instead of just telling people you're doing good, it's better to maybe embody it, or to actually know what it feels like to do a good job, or to just tell people, or have them in a more personal self-reflection, an idea of what it means to do a good job. So the idea was that to get the arcade to actually embody it instead of embodying play and embodying people feeling the sense of it rather than telling, and focusing on the actual labor that kind of comes from not having time to actually relax. But yeah, so that's just a quick rundown of the title. And so for this tour, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through the entire arcade as if we're kind of playing the arcade, but not actually playing the arcade, because I'll be talking about more the ideas and the stories behind them. So what I'll do is, as we're going, I'm going to kind of also enact like I'm playing. So for those who don't know, or just okay, 1 second. Oh my god, 1 second. Okay, so how you first start the arcade is you're supposed to grab one of these little sheets here, and then you're supposed to draw an avatar. And then you're supposed to grab a card from one of these card machines. So I got, actually, this vending machine here was actually given to me for free by Mike Buckingham a few years ago. And so when Mike learned that I was working with vending machines, Mike was like, hey, I have these vending machines that I was working with, I don't know your name. And Mike was like, do you want them? I'm like, hell yeah, I do, because I'm a total hoarder. And so I just want to say thank you, Mike, for providing this beautiful card machine for free. And so once you grab one of the cards, you put it on the card here, and then you draw your avatar. So I'll just do it really quickly. I don't have a good pen. Can you throw me a good pen, Nick? just like a Sharpie. Thank you. Okay, I'm usually better at catching. Although now there's like recording that I'm not good at catching. Okay, so, alright, so now that I have a drawing of my avatar here, it's kind of like me, holding a mic. And then the idea is that actually throughout the entire gallery, there's like these stamps that you can kind of find and collect. And so they're like these loyalty kind of card stamps. And so there's like 12 of them. So I just feel like a lot of people missed it, which is fair, but I just thought I should make note of that. So as we're going through the tour, I'll be like collecting stamps and talking a little bit about what each section is. So this one's probably the most obvious. This is like the welcoming station. And then after you've done that, you grab a capsule from this capsule machine, and this is where you get tokens to play the games. So which I'll talk more about throughout. So these tokens are special. So, but we'll talk about them later. So before we go further in, I just want to talk more about this publication, the publications we created. So as I mentioned earlier, there was 3 writers who had been brought onto the team to actually help make this publication. So which is called the Good Job Arcade Instruction Manual. And so here in this instruction manual, it gives you a lot of actually some details that I'll be talking about today. So there's more copies, so we'll bring some more down. But here we kind of talk more about each of the profiles of the artists in the perspective and view of Jordan Balon. So it's not maybe the most, it's not what you'd expect of a profile, but I think it has a lot of joy. And it really goes into the nitty-gritty of the psychological and the relationship each of us have with each other. But it also goes through all of the games and little tidbits and just some theoretical history, ideas, themes, and histories of each of the games. So I definitely encourage people to grab one. It's also available online, so even if we run out of copies, the digital version is online on our website, which is goodjob.zo. But yeah, so I just wanted to make note of that. So I think we should probably finally go in to the arcade.
So we have 3 different claw machines, and so one of them, so they're called the Kato Pachinko, the Good Night Babies, Let's Go Home, and then the last one is Garbage Game. And so all 3 of these, their fundamental part is that they're all using a claw machine or crane machines, as some people might know them as. So, but instead of using them as what you would traditionally consider as claw machines, I wanted to take one of the aspects I really enjoyed about claw machines when I was in Asia, which is that it's not just about winning something, it's actually about how you kind of problem solve. So for me, I wanted to put in like the problem solving aspect into these claw machines. So it's a very specific mechanic, but it's the idea is that there's a physicalness and there's a bit of a chance where, you know, you have to be able to catch something, and it kind of, you know, it kind of goes through space. And I think I like that about the claw machines. It's really physical. It's a physical, but like very specific way of, you know, problem solving and playing, right? Because it's like, so for me, it was really important to have claw machines that reconfigure people's ideas of what claw machines or even physical games can be, right? I mean, they're essentially gambling machines, but there's a lot of potential, I think, in claw machines that I feel like is never explored or, you know, it's not even like a thing in North America, right? Whereas, you know, when I was traveling in Asia, it's like a lot of these prizes have to go through this specific obstacle course. You know, there's like they creatively find ways to make it so that it's hard to get certain things, but easier to get other things. And I feel like that's the part that I really enjoyed. And I feel like, you know, I could take out the gambling aspect of things, but still people enjoy the fact that you can pick up things and it goes through, you know, obstacle courses and have it move through things or move through difficulties or obstacles. Specifically, the Garbage Game is our take on the, you know, the Christmas like game where you have to like take gloves and you got to rip them apart. And so we thought it'd be funny to do something like that, but in like a in a really like mechanized, very large version. But that one was important too because we wanted games too where you have to work together. So that one was really much about like, you know, working together, finding someone to rip open these balls that are essentially made out of garbage, and the prizes are garbage, or what some people might be considering garbage, or there might be actual garbage in there.
Oh my gosh, it is a drink.
What is it? Is it a drink? No, this is you about to serve this. This is your little souvenir.
Okay. This is war.
Double red eye.
And the other one is Good Night Baby, Let's Go Home. And that one is a plushie obstacle course. So instead of winning the plushies, you have to take them from one bucket and put them into essentially another bucket. But there's this obstacle course where, there's difficulties, there's things where you have to think about, okay, how can I get this plushie to go back, what we call the home zone.
It's time.
You have a limited amount of times to move back and forth.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No. I see what you mean.
Okay, the idea was that you're supposed to go to a better home, but really you're just kind of putting them from one box to another box, but this is a more spacious box. And so, so actually originally we're thinking of actually having this machine where people can actually, win the plushies. But we found through the play test back in March is that it kind of created this sensation of wanting to win that we didn't really feel comfortable with. And so one of the things that, during the entire time of the arcade, we actually didn't want people to feel too hemmed in by the idea of wanting to win or wanting to get the thing that they wanted to get. It was always about subverting expectations of what an arcade is or what playing is. And so for this one, we were like, okay, how can we get people to, how can we still have the plushies still be a part of the arcade, but without being able to subvert expectations. So here, the idea was that they're supposed to go through this obstacle course. As you can see there, I was able to just grab the shrimp and it goes into the hole, but the idea is that it would kind of go through this obstacle course. So if you kind of look in here later, you can kind of see that some of the plushies are actually stuck in certain places. Like stuck behind a rubber glove, for example, or stuck behind, or stuck inside of a rice cooker. So in one of this one, there's 4 of them stuck inside a rice cooker. So the idea is that they're kind of metaphors for obstacles in their lives, because these plushies are meant to be representative of a particular experience or a particular or a certain perspective in life and experience in life, especially those of diasporic communities. And so for those, so I guess I'll show here. So maybe good to come here for a little bit. So here are the posters for all the plushies that are inside the machine. So they kind of give you a bit of a rundown and a bio of each one and what they represent and what sort of struggles they go through with. And so I'll talk about Egg. So Egg is known for being adaptable, best showcased in the various shapes they like to take form into. Sometimes sometimes Egg looks like an egg. Sometimes Egg doesn't look like an egg. Just something vaguely like an egg. They don't normally showcase the various emotions they feel, preferring to seem indifferent even when they're not. They can manifest in how they're sometimes sunny side up, other times hard-boiled, often soft-boiled, and generally raw. And so the plushies are meant to, embody their own specific, background and experience. So I encourage people to read the rest of them. And so, when the plushies are going through these obstacle courses, it's not just a plushie. They all have these backgrounds and these stories we created for them as a way of also externalizing our own experiences and our own thoughts and feelings, or having a way for us to actually share experiences we have with other people, what we see from other people, especially our parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts and cousins. So even though it seems really cute and very wholesome, it's actually probably the most, I would say, sentimental of all the games. And so this game is called Good Night Babies, Let's Go Home. So the idea is that they'll go home later. And what home means, is going to be dependent on each plushie, but the idea is we're helping them to go home, because they won't go, it's harder for them to go home otherwise. So that's what this game is. So sorry you can't own these, but hopefully you'll get something out of it. Wholesomeness. All right, and one more thing too. So this machine was actually out of commission for a little bit because the the motherboard that was supposed to go in it, I accidentally fried it like a week before the opening. 2 weeks before the opening, I accidentally like short-circuited it, so I had to like get a replacement. And then the replacement I got didn't work, so I had to get another replacement for the replacement, but now it's working. So that's why it wasn't in order for the longest time.
And then the last one is Karo Pachinko. So that one's like probably the only one I would say is closest to, it's the only machine that has prizes actually. And so that one was to take and twist the idea of the pachinko machine where you have, you know, pegs where it kind of falls through. But instead there's like pegs and you have to fall through a hole. And the gifts themselves are, you know, handmade goods or leftovers, leftover handmade goods from the arcades process, or their gifts from the community. So we had asked, you know, the community to give us gifts that they think that other people would like for those who win. So everything in those capsules have stuff in it. But unlike a real pachinko or plinko machine, it's, you know, you don't have to pay to win. It's just a matter of, you know, trying and keep trying. And so it's more about the idea of trying and seeing how it goes and a bit of chance.
If this was real money, we would have spent so much money.
Do it!
And then we also have a fishing game. So it's a fishing game where it kind of takes the wind-up fishing game, but like larger, and also plus like the fair version where you have to like kind of fish it out with like these like sticks. So there's like these fair versions, or like it was a duck. Anyway, so we made our own version, which is called Which Fish, and has a bunch of fishes in there that are magnetized, and they have sayings or traits about like you know, like what we would desire or things that people find desirable. And so that came from the idea of how sometimes we appropriate ourselves, or sometimes we kind of long for things that, you know, may not be present for us. So it's the idea is that you're fishing out things that you want, or whether or not they're appropriative or not, or just finding ways to comfort ourselves because there is like, it's not present in our lives. So I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's one that's I can share now, and one of them is like wishes their life to be filled with red beans. So I'll just leave it at that. So some of it's kind of cheeky too, but some of it's also quite, you know, hopefully not too personal, but also quite personal as well.
Extra obstacle. Extra obstacle. Whoa, you're really good. I like how you're putting it away from Jaja because you're like, don't trust Jaja. Like,
a life filled with red bean. That's me. I just said someone could me.
No, okay, let's do the red bean one. I guess the.
Everyone has red.
Yeah.
It's really fun when you started like getting ready. Pretty fast.
Whoa! What's romantic?
Oh, they're kissing.
Do you want to read yours though, Jaja? Oh. Or is that like you dating and then just chill?
Being a hoarder, and that's okay. Really? Not a community centered around play. That's pretty.
The Which Fish game, because I do feel like for me, being a part of a community, being part of the Filipino community, like I still kind of feel like I'm picking and choosing things. Like my family is very religious, like they're very Catholic, and they go to church every Sunday. They go to mass, and I choose not to participate in that. And then, you know, even prayer, like for me, that's the big thing, is like I've kind of chosen not to participate in the religious aspect of the culture as much. So, and I feel like I've been able to choose that. I know that it's not the same experience for everyone, but that's what kind of resonates for me with that game.
So those are like the, what I would call like the physical games. And then there's also 4 different games that are Unity-based. So these are custom-made Unity-based games. And so the first one is called Habal Habal Rush. And so that one is a projection map down, custom scootered, 2-player, racing game. Well, it's not really a racing game. It's more like a collecting ingredients game. So you go through all of these maps where you have to collect ingredients of varying qualities. But the idea is that you have limited time and limited, capacity to actually get the good quality ingredients. So the game is about how do you build ingredients when you have no time, or risking time. So if you don't have enough time, you can't get make the recipe. It's also about like recipes too that that we also like have. It's about recipes that we also have comfort in as well. And so with that one though, that one also, there was also 2 custom-made scooters with it. So it's a really intense game actually. So that was like a really intense one. And the scooters are functional. And so the idea is that you kind of turn the scooters, and there's like buttons to help you move along in the game. And there's a mini monitor to tell you what the ingredients are. So that's Habal Rush in a really condensed version.
Where am I?
We're both there, see?
Oh. Where's the gas?
The gas is the forward button.
No, sometimes it just helps.
Oh wow, this is hard.
It's very hard. I don't know. I don't understand.
There's a game or games called Find. So there's 2 different versions for Find. There's Find Endless and Find You. So Find Endless is like the version where it's much more arcadey, where you select a type of or a version, or like you select a category of things that are like endlessly bothering you. So it's kind of like endlessly picking out things that are different. So like it could be endless ingredients where you just have to keep finding and picking. You're like, yes, I have to keep picking, oyster sauce, or it's just kind of like forever inundation of picking and choosing, but really limited choosing though. And then the other one is called Find You, and Find You is like much slower. So these are pre-made sets of like pre-made scenes where people can pick and choose between things they prefer. So this one, instead of a timeline where they have to like pick as many as they can, as quickly as they can, it's more like there's 2 scenes. Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer this thing, or would you prefer this thing? Quite binary, but it's also about the idea of thinking about and choosing. Like you have only 2 choices. If you had 2 choices, which one would you prefer? We also have another game called Sunset Again, and this one is essentially a walking simulator where there's 3 different levels of like pre-made open, not really open world, it's kind of open world, open map, where you have to find the exit. So it's more about the feeling of being in purgatory, feeling of being kind of stuck in one location all the time. So a lot of the narratives and the characters in those games are around the idea of over and over again, and being stuck in a particular time, or having certain things haunting you and never leaving. So the idea is to find, the exit to this map. Like, how do you exit this type of predicament, or what's the reason why you're here? How do you exit that sort of scenario? There's a fish tank here with still fish, which I think is kind of funny.
Take us through all the funniest parts.
All these lucky cats. I mean, but I think it's just funny more like all the cats. Also, I have these live feeds, right? You can kind of like watch in real time.
Sunset Again is probably my favorite in terms of like lore and diasporic kind of connotations and connections, and kind of like what's happening in that game with this kind of like general like listlessness, and the way it kind of just exists, not really prompting the player much, kind of letting the player find the edges of the game is, I find, kind of very, very, very pretty, especially specifically within a gallery setting as well. I find so that game really resonated within me in terms of lore, in terms of graphics, and what was kind of going on. And we obviously did an extensive amount of writing for it because it was the game with the most NPCs, which was a lot of fun. and I hope everyone gets to read all the fun dialogue we put into that game.
I mean, there's a bunch of cats on vending machines. Okay, so the reason why I did that though is because I didn't have time to add cats to everything, but I already had all of these vending machines up. So like when you add objectives to the game, there's like a particular way of doing it. But I had already put vending machines in, so, but I wanted cats. So what I did was I put all the cats on top of vending machines to make my time quicker and easier. Not all of them. Some of them are like vending machine free, but this is like one example. That's why there's like cats on vending machines. But I think it's funny though that they're like on vending machines. So there's like one here, and there's like another one there. What else is there? There's like some cats not on vending machines. Like there's like one on like a washing machine over there. Like here, there's like one on like a washing machine. That's like not part of it. Obviously, that's not part of it. But like you'll just see that there's a lot of cats on vending machines, and that's because I didn't have enough time to like. That's a cat. You know, cat. So yeah, a lot of them are on top of vending machines for that exact reason. Because I didn't have enough time.
And like encapsulates what the arcade experience was.
Not enough time. What can I do? I'll replace them with vending machines because cats can be on vending machines, right? The last one is called Our Dumplings, and so Our Dumplings is our take on like WarioWare quick mini games, and so this one is based off of Jada posting on our Discord channel of a Twitter post about what is considered a dumpling, and I went off, as I always do, about dumplings, and it kind of just became essentially this game about our dumplings because we all create our own dumpling avatars. So as some people might notice, we have these aprons and they have all our dumplings on them, and in this game there's a bunch of these dumplings. These are actually all of our dumplings. These are us. So that's why it's called Our Dumplings, is because it's essentially us. It's like our dumplings, our drawings. And so we put ourselves into these mini games where we're kind of essentially putting ourselves into these scenarios where it's, you know, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's like putting ourselves in scenarios where it's dumpling related, is all I'll have to say about it, or not. It's a very contentious topic about what a dumpling is. All I have to say though is that dumplings problems comes down to categorization and about classification. Those are the entire problem with dumplings. But I'll let the players figure out what dumplings mean.
No! No!
We also have a face cutout section, or like a photo section, and so that one is just like a chance for people to you know, become everyday objects that maybe we've once in our lives wanted to be. It's more of like kind of like a nice time though for people to come together and take photos together, and it's also like a way for us to just to like make commentary of, you know, because like a lot of times these face cutouts are like, oh, these are important things, and kind of make a big deal about, you know, a location or a space, especially not usually at arcades, but like at like destination locations. But Nature Retreat is a separate room in the parkade where it's like meant to be a decompressing space. So the arcade's like a lot and intense, but we wanted a space where people can kind of sit or relax a little bit more. And so that one was based off of, the fact that this room is separated and quite enclosed and intimate. So we wanted to transform that to be restorative, whether it's through exercise machines or just laying around and just chilling out. So it's like an AstroTurf AstroTurf laid room
full of like, ways for us to restore. So a lot of the conversation too is about how a lot of diasporic folks don't have a chance to heal. Like the idea of exercise, the idea of massaging, the idea of just resting is sometimes a bit, unfortunately, not outside of their scope of importance. And so we wanted to have a space specifically where people can kind of come in and actually not have to worry about playing. They don't have to worry about doing anything. They're not timed. There's nothing specifically in there where they have to do anything. And so we wanted a room where it's more relaxing and more restorative.
How do I go back up?
Grab these guys and then pull yourself. There you go.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Woo! Dunk. That's how your back straight.
I tried to draw some inspiration from like a couple of the things that we had mentioned in the process of like building or coming up with what the games would be. And one of those things was the Hungry Ghost Festival. Like Teresa had kind of mentioned that with Sunset Again, like the concept of the hungry ghost was like a major factor, I guess, or influence in creating that game. So I just kind of looked at a bunch of the festival footage or footage of those festivals on YouTube and tried to kind of pull like elements like it's hard to describe, like burning. There's a lot of burning of incense, a lot of fireworks, so that's definitely a part of the sound. Like clanging, like you know, and like crowd noises, and I tried to draw some influence from the opera as well, because there's a lot of like I guess it depends on where the festival is. Like I think one of the videos I was watching had like Cantonese opera, which I think is amazing. And so I tried to draw influence from that as well. And then another thing is the Tinikling dance, the Filipino dance that has the bamboo sticks, or I don't know what to call it, like the bamboo, what is that? Like a tree limb, like stalk?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm just brain dead.
I know my shoe. Oh no, it's like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Anyway, yeah, so Tinikling, they use like bamboo and they like kind of slam it down on the ground like rhythmically, and people have to dance in between it. And so I was trying to use like the rhythm of that for one of the dumpling games. So I just wanted, like, I don't know if you'd hear the influence, but I just kind of, it was a starting point anyways. And I mostly just tried to embrace that like cheesiness, like so many video game songs. Like I know a lot of the references that were sent to me were actually like really good, like good examples of video game music, like the Gran Turismo soundtrack and like the Yume Nikki soundtrack. And like, I don't know, I feel like my favorite examples of video game music are like just straight cheeseball, like catchy little loops. And so, you know, I did use those influences, but I mean, I can't, it's hard for me to like deviate from what I do, and that's cheesy, embracing the cheesiness and like just making catchy little loops, I guess. I don't know, does that make sense? Like, for the Sunset Again, I think was the one that was quite different. Like, there's still loops, but that's probably the most different out of all of the games, because everything is kind of like cheesy, catchy loop, and Sunset Again is more ambient, more derived from that, like some of that festival ambience, and it's meant to be a little bit more haunting, I guess, haunting and subdued, and yeah, it's just that one I think is the most different.
The publication, so there's a Good Job Arcade instruction manual, and so the manual is more as like a context for all of the games, so a lot of the context can be a bit lost when you're playing and maybe not even obvious, and so it's nice to just have like a quick context of, or general context of like where are thematically where it's coming from. So the instruction manual has, tells you how to play, but also tells you, or the reader, like just kind of where our approach was and what are some of the notes we've had and just why thematically this is important. But also gives an overview as well as for the artists and the writers who are involved in all of this. So yeah, the hope is that this instruction manual will actually be not instruction in that it's helping people to play better, but to help understand that space better.
And then also that makes it fun to be involved with the writers. Jessica and Danny are 3 Oriocals, looking at all of this chaos and trying to put some kind of, I guess, yeah, instruction manual, field guide, map, arcane spell book, grimoire. What else could you say? Sacred text, perhaps, even in some ways. Definitely profane text, right? So to have all of that story layered into all the laughter, all the fun, all the play that I see happening out there, and people's different interpretations, reading the review that just came out, it's been really fun just seeing all the different permutations that come from being a part of this. So I feel like my role continues to evolve depending on what I'm looking at.
I found that Teresa was extremely supportive. She was always kind of listening to us, listening to our feedback, and then of course like shaping things to move and fit where she needed them to, but always in very gentle ways, I mean, that being said, like when she didn't like your idea and she wasn't going to use it, she was very upfront about that. But when the idea was good and it came from like the right place and clearly like reflected some inner values, those ideas would kind of be molded and shaped into what she needed Good Job Arcade to be. So I would say that Teresa, as a boss, was very supportive of kind of anything and everything I wanted to do. Even like the article I ended up submitting into the publication, right, was just like something I pitched, right? I didn't know if it had a place in Good Job Arcade, if it had a place in the publication, if it belonged anywhere, but I knew that like it was a conversation that had been happening inside of me about video games for so long that it ended up just coming out, and like within 2 drafts we nailed it. We were happy, and we sent it to print. So I think she's a great boss, even if she's very mean to me. But it's okay. My personal hope for the publication is that you read it. But honestly, that's it, because we put work into it. I think it's a beautiful little piece with cute and fun little jokes, and you'll find lots of beautiful little information about the people you love in there, because I'm sure you picked up a brochure or a publication because at least one of your friends is in Good Job Arcade or something like that, someone you know. And yeah, my hope is sincerely that they read it.
Read the publication. This game manual, what we alchemize as the writers is we went back in time to the time when a little pamphlet like this had all the secrets and the mysteries of the universe that we were navigating. So that's the spirit in which we created it, and this can be something that could be a dear friend to you as you traverse the diasporic star sea of Good Job Arcade. I feel like everywhere you look, you see Teresa, but also it's very elusive. It's like a plushie that you want to hug, but that plushie never wants to be hugged by you. But it is emanating the most intense hug hug attraction energy. That's what kind of what the arcade is like. Or the claw itself. Teresa's the claw. Like, have you seen how all of this works? When you're in there, do you feel how the claw's movement isn't just in three-dimensional space, but actually nudges you in a kind of quantum mechanical kind of way into weird possibilities and permutations? That's the Teresa magic. But also all of that lives in a diasporic, second-gen, Cantonese, incredible artist, born and raised on this land with a lot of stories about her experience in her community to share with everybody. And I think it's the combination of that really metaphysical cosmic energy that Teresa seems to anchor in multiple universes, and also this very real flesh and blood person who does get tired despite any sort of external or ramen-based intervention, right? This person is anchored in our physical reality, and yet they represent all of these other possibilities, and I think that's what also then makes it possible for all of the rest of the arcade team to find ourselves through this kind of work, to actually see who we are reflected through a sense of self that's at the one sense really unique and really self-determined and autonomous, that's Teresa Tam, but also expansive and welcoming and accommodating and open to the idea of like, what is a dumpling, right? I think Teresa is that metaphysical dumpling of like this like cosmic chaos filling inside this wheat and gluten-based wrapper of a corporeal human body.
I think Teresa asked me to be a part of this project, first of all, for moral support, I think. I also think that she really likes to spitball with me, and I think she really values the memories and like the experience that I've had growing up as a second gen, and I think she relates to a lot of the things that I relate to in very similar but also different ways. And so we have a very cool bond about things. I think we see the world in very similar ways, so a lot of things that I find are interesting and or sentimental and or nostalgic and or sad are things that she might also find that. And yeah, so we get along pretty well through like in ideas of that and generating new ideas as well. We like to generate ideas together, so I think that's also why. Also, I know 3D modeling. It's a valuable skills that I know. Yeah.
It was stressful, but it was really good. As someone who's still pretty new to the art world, there's like still so much nuance of learning about like the process of creating, making art, and like giving it a space to be viewed and interacted with. And I think Teresa did an amazing job as a leader, leading us, because like multiple times whenever I was really thinking empathetically about the show, I realized that like I could never lead a team like that. I don't even want to lead a team like that. It would be far too much work. So it was a stressful experience, especially with like deadlines knocking through and stuff like that. And during the writing process, like the titles of the games changed a bunch, and kind of like what the game was kind of trying to do on a day-to-day basis was still changing, you know? And so that made the writing part a little bit difficult until we really started to nail down more general themes that we just dove into, like the diasporic elements within Good Job Arcade.
It's been very interesting working with Teresa, actually, because I've never worked with her like this before, and we've discovered a lot of similarities in our personalities. So just the way that we kind of like organize our sketchbook, for example, a bit of chaos that comes through our practice. The like over ambitious attitude to say yes to things is something that we really relate on, and then like the slow unpeeling, like peeling back to what we actually can accomplish. So that's been really interesting.
I think what I really appreciate about Teresa is she has like a very like sort of imaginative, sort of childlike sort of wonder where she, anything you throw at her, she's not going to say no. She'll be like, yes, let's think about it. Let's talk this through to see if this is actually doable. Like she'll never shut down anyone's ideas. Her, all of these conversations are always ongoing. Like the debate about what is a dumpling, like that's still going on and is, part of this project, a big part of this project as well. So
I don't even know. I feel like working with Teresa is just like sitting at a bubble tea shop and we're kind of like both tired and we just go like this and then we just draw pictures and then we go, oh my god, what if this? And then Teresa goes like, yeah, let's do that. And then in a meeting she'll be like, so I've decided, I've made an executive decision to do this stupid thing. And so she's very enabling but very serious about things, which is very exciting. Also scary, but mostly fun, and the end. I like working with Teresa. I don't even know if we work together that much. I guess we do. I just think that we just talk a lot. Yeah.
Well, first, I won one of the claw machine games, and I like crushed it, and Teresa was like, no. And then I was like, this game, it's too easy. And so then they had to make it pan-proof, I suppose. And now everything's like difficult, which is great because it's more challenging. So.
Pan, but it's on the first.
That's totally how it went. That's totally how it went. Teresa's the liar. That's totally how it went at the playtest.
No.
And yeah, and I just kept winning and winning and winning, like over and over and over and over, and it was just like Teresa's getting tired of it, just tired. So then I started winning again, like today even. I was just winning these balls, winning, grabbing
balls?
like three capsules at a time, and dropping them in it. Got like 3 capsules in a row. Teresa all of a sudden had to show up, knock everything out of the claw. She kept poking my capsules out.
This is slander. Slander! Defamation. Defamation.
Yeah.
Of character.
This is just bullying, really. Just bullying me for no reason.
Don't believe.
And I don't understand why it's just me. Like, why does she gotta do this to me? Yeah, see you later. Okay. Oh, she's back.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not my car. I probably shouldn't touch that.
A win for Teresa. It's always a win for Teresa? What are you talking about? Unlike Danny.
Yeah, can you talk about Danny?
Well, he's like the hardcore. Well, he's one of the hardcore gamers in the group. But I would say he's probably the most competitive of the hardcore gamers. So there's like, okay, so I would say the hardcore gamers in the group is like me, Danny, and Jack. And it's not like, it's not to say that other people don't play games. For example, like Jada and Pen are also really also gamers, and same with like Vicky. And like I would say yourself too, but like I would say those 3 are probably more so than you, because they like are pretty hardcore. But like the 3. So if I were to like rank who's the most gamer in the group, it would definitely be like, yeah, top 3 would be like Danny, Jack, and myself. But Danny's like competitive, and so I just like to make fun of him. Because I'm like, Danny, I thought you were like a gamer, so why aren't you better at it? Because he like cares about that. I don't. I just care for a good fun time. I like a good walking simulator. Hey! wrong.
She says the meanest things to me. And then Andy backs her up. It's really messed up. Yeah, last time we hung out,
I don't remember this at all.
messed up. Yeah, no. I was looking towards, a united front with you, and you just left me hanging. Just straight up abandoned. It kind of hurt my feelings.
She's left us all around.
But I get it. You get it from Teresa quite a bit too, so any respite is good.
No, I'm just kind of like
Knows how to do it.
I just say what I think is the funniest thing at the time, with no regard for people's feelings. So I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's quite alright.
Look away from
Are they ready?
How do I pose though?
Okay.
How do I pose?
Like a corpse.
This is so awkward.
Daddy, there's no space on the memory card.
Is the thing set to lock?
No, it's not set to lock. I can delete some stuff.
Wow, why can't you work a camera?
Wow, I could, but I don't want to. I don't want to offer his permission.
No, you're fine, Alyssa. You're great. It's only Isaac who's bad.
Wow.
Yeah, delete it like 10. Should be good.
Oh, who's doing that?
Well, first and foremost, I really hope people have fun with the project. I mean, it even though it's in an art gallery, it still has the mentality of an arcade, and so I want people to kind of have as much fun as the artist had in making it, and really kind of especially for someone who's kind of relating to the experiences as someone who's from a diaspora sort of community. I really want them to kind of feel nostalgic about the project, feel like it's bringing up these sort of childhood memories, and being able to kind of have them as a mature adult to be able to kind of explore those ideas, with the friends that they take to the arcade.
I hope that people will come and be enticed to play and have fun and slowly peel back and uncover and maybe take a moment to see some of the deeper themes. And I hope that diasporic populations will come in here and feel some connections to the games that are being shown. I hope that they'll be able to, while they're playing, be like, oh, I connect to this in this very specific and certain way that maybe other people don't have that same connection to.
What my heart space wants, and what is also then what I orient my principles in engaging with the project around, is a really strong value that play, pleasure, satisfaction, and rest are missing pieces of a healthy metabolic life cycle for diasporic individuals, especially here on Treaty 7, especially racialized, queer, non-binary, trans, neurodiverse, disabled, all of our unhindered plural identities, right? I feel like play, rest, curiosity, and the satisfaction that comes from that is something that I always have to have a principled and very specific and accountable type of relationship based through credible action around.
I think folks who have the same experiences, I think it would, it would be awesome if they left the gallery kind of feeling like they're seen, I guess, or I don't know how to explain it, but you share a similar experience with someone, so you can connect with them in that way, I guess. I want them to leave with a sense that they've had fun in a gallery. I'm not trying to not knocking anybody's work. I just think that often you go into a gallery space to look and interact, but I think it's rare to have a sense of play in a gallery space. So, I'd like people to leave and have actually had a bit of fun.
I think the most important thing for me, for people to come away from this exhibition, is just to feel good. I think whatever that means, like feel good in that, you know, they had a good time, having a fun time, or they feel good because they feel like what we presented there gave them a bit of like a comfort, like, you know, as in like they can see that there's people out there who also understand or have gone through similar, you know, life experiences or similar realities, but also good in that maybe they see that this is like a collaborative piece. It's not just like me who did it. I mean, my name's on it, but like it's good to see that like there is, you know, possibilities. There's, you know, it's possible to build something so big, even if it's not the most functional and the most unbroken thing ever, but we tried really hard, and it's, I think hopefully people see that and they think they feel good about that. They feel good that, you know, we care enough for each other and for this to actually try to make it work, you know, for together and for like the project itself.
Like that's why also if you're coming to the gallery, if you experienced it whenever you watch this, know that Teresa's collecting you. If you get a little bauble and you think you're getting this wonderful unidirectional message from the cosmos that's giving you insight and affirmation about your work and who you are, the contents of your dumpling, and maybe a fortune to just help you ground you through the magic of confirmation bias types of tools to orient yourself and work, but also know that on the other side, Teresa is harnessing all of that energy and incorporating it into this many-tentacled, plushy, Lovecraftian, diasporic Cantonese Cthulhu type of being that is only garbed in spectrums of light that are neon or pastel or egg cream colored, let's say, right?
In terms of myself, first of all, I think learned a lot about teaching. I did like a plushie workshop like to teach people who had never sewn before how to sew, and then I did it kind of again, and it's interesting to, I don't think I really have taught people anything before, but I think I learned a lot from that, about patience and about like just sort of trying to find the best, or like trying to start to navigate the best ways to sort of encourage people, and also to sort of reel them in when they need to be reeled in a little, but also just to like give them like full rein and be supportive in general. I don't know, I think that's a very interesting area I'd like to navigate more.
I just love how the group interacts with each other. You know, everyone works really well together and kind of helps each other with everyone's, you know, weaknesses and strengths. And, you know, if there's a weakness, somebody comes through and just helps out with that. Or if someone has a strength, people kind of, you know, elevate that. So, and then just, you know, simple things as, you know, eating together and kind of taking care of each other. I think that's really important when it comes to this kind of like collaborative projects. And yeah, I think the team has been really good about doing that and making sure that everyone's, you know, a part of the project and no one's left out. I think that's has been really great. And yeah.
I'm just really happy that I was given the opportunity to actually be a part of the team. And like I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. You know, like it was so fun, it was so wholesome. Everyone on the team is such a good person. Everyone was trying to help each other out, and like it's not always like that with every team I've joined, you know. So I was just very thankful for the opportunity. I'm glad it happened. And like Pan said, it's like, you know, there's a like bittersweet level of like it ending and us like never seeing each other again. But I don't know, I just don't really feel like that's true.
Like word. I don't know if I might not get them. The bulbous protrusion of them that would be the easiest to grasp is the furthest from the claw. It's just perfectly out of the range. Now here is, just like in the arcade, the moment where you have to use, I have to mold my dark yin energy, and I need to find a possibility for clawing what I want to claw without clawing it the way that the reality where the limitation is wants me to claw. That's what Teresa taught me, I feel like.
What do you think you'll miss about us and this project?
Well, for one, it's gonna be, that's another one, that's like 3 or 4 that I saved just talking to you right now. I'm gonna miss like this, like, yeah, I'm gonna miss that little alien invader. Did you see? Hi! I'm gonna miss like getting to, oh my gosh! No more coins! Well, that's the arcade too. I don't think I'll miss it because I'll be in it. I'll always be collected in the case. Do you see yourself, Jess?
I don't have one that's me.
Yes, there are. You made some, you touched some. Look, your children are calling to you, Mother, why did you abandon us? But you're saving them from the chaos of the universe that you live in, maybe that's why.
Amazing.
But yeah, I will miss just getting to say that I am going to work at the arcade. I'm going to miss, like using the arcade as a pretense for any fun thing that I want to do, which I wish that I knew that we could take permission to do that more at the beginning. But I suppose there's still chances. Maybe I think that's the other thing is like, I look forward to the next permutation of the arcade and that it will continue to evolve and that the communities that play with it also that alchemizes and catalyzes like a different type of version of what play looks like for them. And then they get to explore that and share it back with us. That's what I would look forward to, so.
So I'm filming this now at the end of May 2023, and our show just opened. It was such a chaotic and hectic time, but it was so rewarding to see people actually interacting with our art and to see the product of 8 months worth of hard work. I'm sad we won't get to see each other as much anymore, but I'm so grateful to Teresa for bringing this team together. I didn't know anyone else in the project before I started, but now I feel like we're leaving as a close-knit community. I think the most rewarding part of this project was bringing all these people with different artistic practices and disciplines and varying degrees of experience within the diaspora, and to have all of us contribute to this project in such a meaningful way. We really learned how to make space with one another, how to communicate, and how to collaborate. And I think what came out of it at the end was just the most amazing time ever. So I hope you got to see the show. And if not, I hope you get to build community like this wherever you are. Because whether you're with a group that's big or small, I think there's nothing better than that feeling of having your voice represented in a group of like-minded individuals working towards the same goals. So until next time.